What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Hey, everybody, it's Gare, and I am back with my good friend, Karen Vizer, and we were on another podcast together, and there was so much there that I just thought, wow, let's come back and let's kind of expand on this and go a little bit deeper in this. And so, for anyone who missed it, I'm just going to go ahead and read Karen's bio so that you know who we're dealing with and what's there, because I think it's going to open up a lot of questions for folks who are listening in. And so I think based on what you hear and what Karen has to say, you probably going to want to reach out to her and maybe do some work with her. So, Karen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
so delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. I'm going to go read your bio and then let's dig into it. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Okay. Karen Vizer. From the beginning, Karen knew she was destined to be different. As a clairaudient child, she heard, sensed, and just knew things that others didn't. During high school, as she was studying astrology and numerology, which all high school kids study, let's face it, she had a vision about using her abilities to heal people. While spending the next several years in the medical field, she realized that the path she was on focused on disease management instead of true healing. Instead, she realized that there was a better way, and she can combine her clairaudience with coaching to shift belief systems. That's when she made a decision to study under coaching legend Thomas Leonard, and I know we'll share about that. As she was coaching, she learned that the human brain operates like a machine, and there are clear steps you can take to terminate its unnatural, negative programming. Don't we all suffer massively from that? Additionally, she learned that knowing one's authentic self is crucial to creating his or her desired reality. Identity or self-concept is everything, and your identity creates your results. She is the founder of the Identity Makeover Experience. Today, Karen leads the significance movement. When you embody that you matter and everything you say and do matters, everything changes. Karen is uniquely qualified to lead her clients home to their real, authentic self. Your thoughts are things, your words cast spells. You're not too old, and it's never too late. Thank goodness for that, because I'm getting older. Karen uses her clairaudient gifts to empower sensitive women and men who are seeking a stronger sense of self and identity. Her visionary framework helps her clients clarify and create their desired realities and self-concepts with confidence. She's committed to empowering clients to crush self-doubt and design identities based on being rather than doing. She's also a founding member of the Thomas Leonard's legendary Coach Phil Porter with 29 years of experience in coaching. She uses her exceptional knowledge and training to help her clients overcome negative programming, self-beliefs, and narratives that are keeping them adrift. In doing so, she helps aspiring women to chart their own course through her intuition, intentionality, and inspiration. Right?
Who's that?
Yeah. We need you. Come help us. So again, welcome and thank you so much. It's like you got the goosebumps working again like last time. Such an inspiring message and such amazing work you're doing. Maybe help us walk through this, maybe the beginning, the end, and kind of what you're doing. It's just so inspiring.
So the beginning or the end? I'm being what I'm called to be. And I'm called to be someone who guides and someone who can identify a pathway from where someone is to where they truly want to be, what their birthright is. And I think, Gary's, there's so many people today that have given up on themselves. They don't know that they matter. They don't feel like they matter. They don't recognize that everything they say and do matters, even if they don't think it does. And and I think a lot of it came with a lockdown. People really got into a place where they started to question, who am I? What am I here for? Why am I here? And the way I see it, it's kind of like a puzzle. We're all cells in the body of God, consciousness, spirit, source, creator, whatever you want to call that. And I'm not attached to it, but we're all cells in that body. We're all parts of a puzzle, and we all came with a gift. We all came with something that is unique, that is us, that we have to share. And you are the answer to someone's question. You know? And so I think that my mission, my passion, what brings me alive is connecting people back to who they are. And it's kind of analogous to remember when we had software updates on computer, and we still have operating system updates on our phones and stuff. Well, you have a human operating system, and that human operating system has been corrupted over time with programming, conditioning, mind control, beliefs, constructs, narratives, stories, and the stories were all based in fear. And then the operational limits that were created for survival. So now when we find those stories and we find that fear and we shift that to something else, to something that's congruent with what the person wants, now we have a clean slate and a capacity to expand our being, expand everything that's available to us. And there's a whole lot more available to us than we know. And a lot of times when I'm working with clients and they start doubting what's happening, they start doubting themselves, because doubt is a real problem for a lot of people. I will always ask them, is the version of you that you're being today better than the version of you that you were a year ago? And the answer is always yes. And it's just a reminder that we look outside of ourselves and we compare ourselves to other people. But really, the comparison is, who are you today versus who were you, versus there's a version of you already alive, well, and operating in the future that can provide you with answers, with resources when you tap into that. So it's not so much about becoming, but being that version of you that you're called to be. And I think for a lot of people, they've lost the connection to self, the connection to source, the connection to that voice that speaks to us, that is the voice of inspiration, the voice of expansion, the voice of possibility. And we've been programmed and conditioned to doubt and to, that's not available to me. Well, what if it is available to you? What if that decision that it's not available to you was one that was based in fear, when you were hiding and you were protecting yourself and you were playing small? And what if you get now to play to win instead of playing not to lose?
I love the playing small and playing to win. It reminds me, I don't know if he wrote it, but Nelson Mandela's inauguration speech, when he goes into that, you are the light, you are a gift of God. You playing small is not in your soul. We weren't born to play small. We were born to be big. I don't know if you've seen his inaugurational speech, Nelson Mandela, but
A while ago, but I didn't remember it.
yeah, I have it in my bathroom. I literally look at it every day. It's just it just lights me up every morning. I don't know if he I think someone told me he didn't write it, that he wasn't the original say, but look it up again. It just touches on exactly what you said.
Yeah.
when people come to you, is it because of like a current trauma, like something happened, the loss of a spouse, or they get it sick or something like that? Or is it people just come to you that say, I'm at disease. I don't things aren't right for me and I kind of want to make a shift. How do people find you and what are they looking for when they come to find you?
That's a really good question. So, um, there, there are a couple different answers to that question. Women, many women that are in leadership in organizations, and they find me by word of mouth. I do not advertise. I don't have a website. I just, it's word of mouth and referral. I have mothers that have sent their daughters. I have sisters that have sent their sisters. I have, I mean, it's really interesting. I don't have any fathers and sons, but I have worked with men. And the mothers that send their daughters are usually women that have experienced the work, that had a lot of trauma when they were younger. And they see warning signs in their daughters, like perhaps an eating disorder or a self-esteem issue or something. And they will often introduce me to their daughters and then leave it up to the daughter whether they want to work with me. And that's happened a couple of times. Sisters referring their sister, it's often they get such great benefit that they want everybody in the family to have that experience. And so it's for different reasons, but a lot of people that are attracted to my work because we get results. And I can't tell you the number of people that have read every book, done every course, and still haven't been able to crack the code on what's wrong with me. And that's the big problem, is that they think something's wrong with them and nothing's wrong with them. They're not broken. But it's a program. And if you're constantly seeking, because that's how you're wired.
Did you say constantly seeking? Looking,
See,
seeking.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, constantly seeking yourself, seeking advice, seeking a mentor, seeking wisdom, seeking the next book, seeking the secret sauce. I'm the secret sauce.
I love it.
And yeah, and I've actually had one client told me I was her secret weapon, and another client told me I was her secret sauce. And, and it's because we don't add anything. There's nothing to add. What we do is we subtract the stuff that the client's taken on that has nothing to do with who they are, all the programming, the conditioning, all of that stuff. So we get results because the focus is no longer out here externally referenced, either to getting signals from people that you're okay, or finding the next best thing that's going to make you okay, or whatever that is. It's now internal reference. And when you're internally referenced, then your information comes from a different place. Your sense of belonging comes from a different place. Your self-esteem comes from a different place. So it's really about turning, instead of looking out here for what's missing, looking in here for what's there that you haven't been able to see.
Wow.
And so I'll have women that will come to me because they're in male dominated organizations and they want a seat at the table, but no one has mentored them at how to do that. And they think they have to become masculine to succeed in that environment. But really their gift is in their femininity and in their deep listening and in their capacity to be present and hold space. And so those women work really well with me because we amplify the feminine gifts that allow them to what do I want? To know that they belong, that they're in the right place, that they're doing good work, where they're not measuring themselves and comparing themselves to the men that they're working with, where they're owning the value of what they bring.
That, that,
And
that was that was the couple that was brought up a couple of questions that I had, and one was it seems that you're not completely focused on working with women, but it seems like you do have a woman-centered sort of focus a little bit. Is that because women are more able to share and open than men? And then secondly, what you just brought up is, do you see that, since they started the women's lib and the women's movement, the Me Too and all this, that I think the pressure, instead of being less on women, has gotten harder. It's gotten tougher for women. And so they push it even more to the masculine and are losing their femininity.
yeah, um, it's a good point. I really think that men have been vilified and women have been programmed to become more masculine. And I think overall, it's a bad fit. Women have gifts, men have gifts. And I think I really do not like the whole movement of Me Too, the whole movement of women's lib. I believe it's not the essence of who you are. Your identity has to do with who you think you are. And I think a lot of problems that women have is because they assume an identity that is not who they are, because that's what they think they need to be to survive. And if you believe that's what you have to do, and we're creators, we're always creating and never not creating. That's what you're creating. That's where you're creating from. You're creating from, I have to be this way to survive in this environment. And what I like to do with my clients is take them to a place of, what do you want to create? What do you desire to create? Who do you desire to be? And you can be that and be very successful in your role, whatever that
How
is.
many people do you deal with that actually know the answer to that question?
Which question? Who do they want to be?
Who do they want to be? I mean, I think today we're like, we have no idea who we are, what we want to be, or
Right.
where we're going.
And so much has been stripped in the last 4 years of those things and that's why so many people are flatlined, I think, right now, because they don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. They don't think it's okay to want something for themselves. They think it's that desire is evil. Desire is God giving you a message about something that's available to you. God, spirit, source, consciousness, call it what you'd like. But desire has been mixed up with sexuality and all that stuff, and it's not. And so I upgrade language often with my clients. They'll go, I want this. I go, could we use the word desire? I desire this, because want implies lack, like I don't have it. Desire is a higher vibrational frequency. And so but yes, the loss of identity, and men are suffering, really suffering, I think, because they have gifts and they have purpose, and they're different than women, and very different than women. And but they're often in a situation where they're being told who they are is not enough, not good enough, not right, that they're wrong. And that, to me, this is just all messed up. And
Wow.
it's confusion. And you've heard, I know that you're familiar with sales, and there's a saying in sales that says, a confused mind doesn't buy. Well, when you're confused, whether you're a man or a woman, when you're confused about who you are, who you're being, what your next steps are, what you want, what you desire, why you're here, what do? You flatline, you do nothing. You stop, you freeze, because a confused mind doesn't buy, and you're confused and you're like, I can't relate to what's going on, but everybody else seems to be going along with it.
Well, it seems like it's so bizarre now because there's toxic masculinity, right? Men are bad. We aren't allowed to say what a woman is. And it's not a political thing at all. It's not a societal thing. It's just it seems like we've gone so adrift on just allowing people to be, and with you helping people find themselves. And that's why I was curious about that question of how many people actually, when you ask them that, what do you want? What do you see for yourself? What do you see as the being? I would imagine they're like, I have no clue, Doc. I don't know what. I mean, how do you walk them through to say, all right, let's find it?
That's a really good question. So I don't like to focus on negative and what you don't want, but it's a very good way to recognize the contrast. So, for example, if I have a client and the client says, all I want is peace. Well, first of all, that's a lie. That's not all they want, but peace is a very high priority.
Yeah.
That's all they've allowed themselves to recognize that they desire. And so, okay, so if you were to say that to me, Gary, I would say, okay, what will you have when you have peace? And then that is a bigger question. And so they might say, well, I'll be free of conflict. I won't be worried anymore. So what they really want to be is free of conflict and not worried. So now what do you have when you're free of conflict and not worried? Maybe that's safety. Maybe that's like, I don't have to fight for who I am. I don't have to fight for what's mine. So then what they really want maybe is safety. What will you have when you feel safe? So
Maybe security, right? And then it just keeps
yeah, I
going
mean,
down and
you
down
have
and
to
down.
drill down. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, it's like a springboard. Who would you be if you were peaceful, if you were safe, if you were free of conflict? Who would you be? Who would you get to be to take a stand for yourself in that way? Well, first of all, you'd have to create an environment that you'd have to be somebody who cared enough about yourself to create an environment that supported you, which would mean that you make a choice not to be in conflict with people any longer. They get to have their conflict if they want it. You don't have to play.
Right.
And so it's really about choosing yourself, because now that you've recognized what it is, what something is that you may desire, then you're either lying to yourself or you're going to commit to yourself. And there's a man that I follow who's an amazing coach and mentor. His name is Steve Hardison. He has a quote that just about floored me when I heard it. And it's failure to commit is the high cost of low-level living. And
That's awesome. Yeah.
and it's a really powerful quote, and it's very true. So if you're not committed to yourself and you're not telling yourself the truth and you're not taking a stand for yourself, then you're going to be in this kind of place that maybe is not very desirable.
But I would imagine, that's really where you come in, because if you don't know what you truly want or who you truly are or what your true desires are, you can't commit, because
Right.
you could be throwing commitment out all over. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to do whatever. But if that's not your true value or your true core belief, it won't make a difference, right? So is that how you help people find that?
Yeah, it's really about the ego mind wants to maintain the comfort and familiarity of what's known. And so the ego mind is going to be throwing spaghetti at the wall. Go over here, do this, do that. And I call that chasing shiny things.
Doing what?
Chasing shiny things. So you mentioned it's in my bio that Thomas Leonard was one of my early mentors, and Thomas taught a process for the to-do list, and it was a four column process. So column one was the stuff that you had to do, like no one else could do it. So that might be, pay your tax bill. It might be, making dinner. I mean, it's different for every person, but there are certain things we all have to do. So that would be the first category. The second category is where you park the shiny things. And that's called do it later, maybe. And it's really a parking lot. So what you do to quiet the ego mind is go over here and do this, go over there and do that, go over here and do this. What about this? You should be there. You put that down so that your mind's not worried about forgetting it, but you have it there and you date it.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back in a week and it still looks like a good idea, you could consider it. Most of those things that are on that list are not going to look like a good idea in a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre. But you've got it parked. And then there's the delegated, and that's where, like, I have a gal that comes in and cleans for me. It takes her and her team an hour to clean my house. If I were to clean my house the way they clean my house, it would probably take me 2 days, and I would not be happy. So that's the kind of stuff that goes in the delegated.
Mm-hmm.
The things that you could pay someone else to do because they would do it better than you and more quickly, and it would be a better use of your time. Because the only resource we have that's not renewable is our time. So where am I putting my time? And I'm reading a really great book right now. It's called Time Warrior by Steve Chandler. And he talks about 3-minute things. Okay, I've got 3 minutes. What can I do right now? And I love it. And it actually works because there's a lot that you can do in 3 minutes. It really is remarkable. You could pay a bill online in 3 minutes. You could make a phone call in 3 minutes if you were calling an organization or a business that was going to put you on hold for 20.
Mm-hmm.
You could hydrate. You could do some stretching. There's a lot. You could file some papers. There are a lot of little things that might be nagging at you that you can do in 3 minutes. So it's a really good book. And then the fourth category is dump it. And that's where you put all the shoulds. I should do this. I should do that. I should do this. I should do that. Because the litmus test, Gary, is what I'm considering doing moving me closer to what I desire or further from it? And is it loving and kind of me to me? And if the answer is no to either of those questions, it needs to be out of your life.
Would you say that you deal more with people's energy or more with people's psyche, more with people's damage? I mean, what would you say how you help people, the way you help people so well, what do you say it's grounded in?
Energy. Everything is energy, and all energy can be transformed.
Mhm.
And so thoughts are things,
Mhm.
and those things are energy. Everything has an energetic pattern. Now, in our lifetime, we have cellular memory of everything that ever happened to us, everything we ever experienced is in our cells. So sometimes when I work with a client and they're releasing trauma, they may have shaking, they may have involuntary twitching, they may be nauseated. I love it when they're nauseated. I've never had anyone throw up. They may cry. They may feel like somebody's standing on their chest, or like someone's got their head in a vice, or like their feet are glued to the wall or the floor. There can be a number of sensory experiences that a client will have when we're doing this work, because when we're present in our body in the moment, that presence and that attention to whatever is going on causes some of the laws of nature to work. And one of the laws of nature that gets activated by being present, quiet presence to whatever is going on, is that energy flows where attention goes. So with that presence, and now you can't be doing it because you want it to leave. It's like I can't have this big boulder on my heart and go, I got to get rid of that. I got to get rid, because that's not going to work. That's not quiet presence. That's my ego coming in trying to fix it. But if I'm just getting quiet and I've got my eyes closed and I'm noticing how big it is, I'm noticing where the energy starts and stops, and I'm noticing if it moves anywhere. By law, natural law, that energy flows where attention goes. It has to move. So it's a tricky thing because
I would imagine.
it's going to be in the present moment
Yeah.
without expectations, without trying to control it, without trying to make anything happen. And it's very powerful. But when that happens and those old patterns, it's like upgrading the software on your human operating system, like upgrading your iOS system or whatever operating system you're using for your technology. It's the same thing for your human body. You have a human operating system. Now, when that system is upgraded on a computer, what happens? It works faster, right?
Mhm.
It can do more. Well, that's what happens for you too. And because those patterns are no longer obstructing flow, it's like bandwidth gets expanded and capacity gets expanded. And that's why I say there's so much more available to us than we've ever allowed ourselves to believe.
Do you think, when you do, just using the computer as a good analogy, a lot of times it's also cleaning too. It's cleaning out old files, it's cleaning out junk, it's clearing up space on the hard drive. So it does work
Exactly.
more effective and factor. So is that something that you work on too? Is just trying to clear stuff for people, get them to dump this crap out of their system?
Well, again, there are natural laws. And so when you focus your attention, we're creators. We're always creating and never not creating. So, for example, let me think of a good one. If I have a belief that I can't make money, for example, and money is a big problem for a lot of people right now. If I have a belief that I can't make money, then as a creator who's always creating, I'm going to create that I can't make money. Now, if I go and I look at my past and I say, have I ever created money? It's likely I've had a job or some experience in life where I created money. So that's evidence that I'm telling myself a lie. You following me?
Yep. Yeah.
So now if I go to that point in time and I go, wait a minute, I have evidence that that's not true.
Mhm.
Now I can make a new decision that says I can create money. I have created money before. I have evidence of that creation. So now with a new belief system, a new structure, I can then say, okay, how can I create money? So now I'm asking a question. I'm not saying I can't create money. I'm saying, how can I create money? And now if I get quiet enough, because remember, ask and it's given. Now, if I get quiet enough and I maybe journal about how can I create money, I may get 50 ideas. And so, yeah, I could dog sit, I could house sit, I could get a job, I could, start selling baked goods, I could have a yard sale, right? I mean, there's all these things that might come in, and then I can look at those and I can go, okay, which of these, let's say I got 10 on a page, which of these could I commit to? What 2 or 3 of these could I commit to?
Do you, when you're doing that and you're going back, would it also be negative stereotypes about, well, my family never made money, my parents were poor, we never had anything, so I in turn can't have anything? I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
clear up that space too on the computer, on the hard drive.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
it's really about beliefs. And what if that's a story you told yourself and it's not true? And then that opens it just opens space for a new possibility. And
Well, I think
so
like we talked about just a little bit, we touched on before about, what did you say, 70,000 negative, 80,000 negative, thoughts
if we have,
a
some
day?
people say we have 70,000 thoughts a day. I've seen different numbers, and that 80% of them are negative. So if you have 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day and 80% of them are negative, that's like 56,000 negative thoughts a day.
That's a pretty big hill to climb. I mean, that's a pretty big
Yeah,
battle. If you've already have, and like you said, after the last 4 years, so many people just, I mean, with family, with husband, like I'd said, my friend who's a divorce attorney said this is the best years of her life for COVID. Because people just literally didn't even like their spouses, like their family,
right.
like their job. And so, coming out of that, the battles of, like you said, flatlining. Not only are we fighting that negative inner talk, but also we're flat, we're dead. It's really a battle to come out of that, to feel better, to seek relief, right?
Well, it's identity work, Gary. It's because we were identified as the wife or the husband of, the daughter or the son of, the employee at XYZ company, the chief muckety muck, the Mercedes driver if you lost your car, the country club member if you lost your member. I mean, all of these external things that were labels that we put on ourselves that gave us our identity, many of those are gone. And so it's really an identity crisis because you're no longer who you thought you were, but you don't know who you are. And the key is really who you are is this beautiful loving being, and you get to decide who you want to be. You get to create that because you're always creating and never not creating. So you get to create that you are the greatest podcast host on the planet. You can create that.
Mhm.
And you can decide that that's who you're going to be. And then you commit to that. And when you commit to that, then the forces come in to support you to create, to support that creation. I can decide, and I have decided, that I am the very best identity coach on the planet.
Okay.
Now, there may be other people doing identity work. Doesn't matter. They're not me.
Right.
Doesn't matter. I don't say that from a point of view of ego or conceit. I say it because the client results speak for themselves. And I get to claim my bestness if I want to do that. And I do.
That's awesome. And you have a track record of 30 years of being awesome. And I think we chatted a little bit about it on the first podcast, but just about how early this came to you, how early this sense of what you could do, what the possibility was. And I guess until you could mature enough to function it, right? Or to weaponize it or direct it, right? That what you
Yeah.
already had in you.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's not a destination, it's an evolution. And it's always changing, it's always evolving, it's always growing, it's always expanding. And I had a moment a couple of weeks ago where I reconnected with a client that joined me on a retreat in Italy. And that retreat was like, I want to say that was in 2008 or 9. It was a while ago. And she's saying to me, I don't know if you remember all of what, and I remember bits and pieces of it, but there were like 10 women on that retreat with me. And she said, that changed my life. Your work was so powerful. I went back and I started my law firm. She's a solicitor in the UK. She started her law firm, and she jettisoned the dead weight guy that she was in relationship with, and she and her daughter moved to this new spectacular home. And she chose herself, and she's telling me this, and I'm sitting here going, I was just like, I don't think she ever told me before, or I could not receive it. I don't know which, or maybe it was both.
Yeah.
But I was stunned, and I was like, my work was that good then?
That's awesome.
Because I know it's really good now, and I'm like, I had no idea.
Do you think that like people are intimidated to come see you because they don't want to be that exposed? They don't want to go there. I mean, they know they have to, so they seek you out, but do they get intimidated? Like, I don't want to go there, Karen. I'm scared.
No, when people commit to work with me, they know what that means. And I have a very high level of trust with my clients. So I may tell a story about a client, but you would never know who that client was because I don't reveal enough about them to have them be identifiable. In fact, I had a client the other day who I wrote about her on social media. I made a Facebook post about her because she generated both a promotion offer at work as well as a new position offer with another company. And so she knew it was her, but no one else knew it was her.
Right,
And,
right.
and she texted me and she said, thank you for that post. She said, it feels really good to be acknowledged, yet be able to be incognito. And I was like, you're welcome. But
But I don't mean about exposing you,
it's,
exposing
it
people
takes courage.
personally, but about them exposing their selves, their wounds to
They may
you
not be
to
they
come
may
through.
not be ready, Gary,
Mhm.
It's courage. It takes courage to do this work. It really takes courage. Is it worth it? Absolutely. But it's only worth it if you're ready. Not everybody's ready.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to become 100% responsible for their life and what they're creating.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to be. It took me a while to get there. I totally get it. There are people that just don't want that.
Yeah. So what are the steps now? Let's say someone reached out to you. They could be anywhere in the world, right? You just do this Zoom or on the phone or
I don't do it on Zoom because I don't want visual contact, because my clairaudience is very high and I don't want anything for that reason, and also for the clients, to protect the clients, because if somebody gets really emotional or they start shaking or twitching or feeling nauseous, they don't need another set of eyes on them as they're going through that experience. So I like them to be able to be safe wherever they are, not worried about somebody walking in, disturbing them. So that's a requirement of my clients when they work with me. And so I work by phone, and it's very intentional. So if you were to come to work with me, I would ask you what you wanted the outcome of the session to be. My work is not cookie cutter. It's not, I can't teach the Karen Vizer identity makeover. I can teach the identity makeover part, but I can't teach the process of shifting the energy or navigating it. I can teach the navigation, but it's different for every person. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not going to be like, first you do this, and then 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 voila, there. Kumbaya.
you're not baking a cake. You
No,
are
not a recipe. So it starts with the intention, being very intentional. What do you want and why do you want it? So what will you have when you have that? We go down deep. And I've had clients come with 10 things on their list. And I've had clients come with 3 things. I had a client last week that came with 4 things on her list. And then I said, there's something you're not telling me. And she goes, well, I wasn't going to go there on this session. And I was like, okay, but could you tell me anyway? Because I have a feeling we may need to go there to get to the other things, because sometimes the way in is not obvious. And so she told me, and sure enough, that was the focus. And that was her disdain, I would say, and disgust with her husband, partner, because she had a preconceived idea about who he needed to be in the relationship, and he wasn't measuring up. And she had old programming from her childhood about being a taskmaster and holding everybody accountable to their tasks. And so when we explored the possibility that what if, he's not you, you're not him, you have 2 different operating systems. What if his operating system is not congruent with your expectations? And could you hold him capable of his excellence, whatever that is, his expression? Could you hold him capable instead of incapable? Could you hold him competent instead of incompetent? And she made that shift. And then she texted me and she said they had the most magical weekend.
Oh, man.
And so it's, and that's who she was being. She was being, instead of leading her family in love, she was leading her family in fear. This has to be done. This has to be done. This has to be done. It's got to be my way. It's like this rigidity. And when she was able to release that and be an appreciation of who he is, she was able to create flow within that structure. It's really, because it's kind of like dancing, Gary. What's your favorite dance to dance? Do you dance?
You,
Ask you that first.
I'm a spaz. I'll dance to everything. I'll go from tango to disco. You just set me
Okay.
loose. I'm out there, baby.
Okay. Is there anything you don't like? How about foxtrot?
I'll foxtrot.
Okay.
I'll do the waltz. You name it. I don't think I could dance to rap. I would imagine. Maybe that's it.
Or hip hop or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But okay. So the idea is that if you're dancing a dance with a partner and you decide you don't like that dance, if you decide to dance another dance and that partner wants to continue to dance with you, they dance another dance too, because everything's energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I use foxtrot because most of the women I talk to think that's the most boring, awful dance they've ever seen. And they're like more salsa and tango and
I know that we're all different. Obviously, we have different energies. We're built different. We're all unique in our own DNA and such. But do you see a pattern with the people you work with? Do you see a pattern in humanity and in people where that thread seems to be pretty consistent with your work?
I see patterns in humanity. There's a lot of social conditioning and programming. One of the biggest lies is that you don't matter, and that what you want doesn't matter, that you're insignificant, that you should go along, with the needs of the whole for the good of the whole. All of that, not rock the boat, not make waves. And that's all limitation programming. And I see that in a lot of people, no matter where they came from, whether they had trauma or didn't have trauma. It's like, who am I to XYZ? And I'm not like, who are you not to? Who gets hurt if you don't share your gifts? Who loses?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to read that Nelson Mandela thing again. That's exactly who you're lying. Who are you not You're a gift of God. Who are you not to shine bright?
Right.
You're dishonoring by not shining bright. But I'd imagine so much of that comes from childhood. Now that I've got a grandson, and I remember raising my kids, and we raised them, we just saw so much negativity out there. There's so much sit down, be quiet, don't talk, sit in the corner, don't do this, don't do that. And I think it just stays with you forever. It's just such a painful thing that, and then if you're a dominating spouse or someone like that, or a dominating boss or someone like that, the pattern doesn't go away.
Yeah. Well, you make a very good point, and it is a pattern that when we're children, we don't get unless an adult gives to us, right? You don't get food, you don't get to go to the movie, you don't get to make a decision unless an adult makes decisions for you.
Mhm.
And if an adult says you're good, and if an adult says you're bad, you react based on that feedback. And the truth is that all events are neutral, so you're neither good nor bad. You're just being a kid.
Mhm.
Now, yeah, maybe you've got some disruptive behaviors, but perhaps they're not good and not bad. Perhaps it's not okay to do that.
Mhm.
It's a neutral thing.
Mhm.
So it's the meaning that we put on events, the meaning that we put on, and that creates the fear. That there's always fear of the loss of connection. All fear is fear of change, and it differentiates into three major categories, which is fear of not being good enough, fear of being left behind or abandoned, and fear of not knowing, fear of the unknown. And so
Mhm.
there are only two forces, fear and love. But we are programmed and conditioned as children to be in fear of losing love. And it's not even love we're losing, it's approval.
Yeah. God, and we see that we see that through our lives. We see relationships are so bad. We accept bad relationships. We accept bad bosses. We accept bad stuff because that's still there. It's like that fear of a loss, that fear of acceptance. And it could be so damaging to our person, our soul. It's so hurtful to us. And blocks our energy, I would imagine, right? It just must shut off our energy in a big way.
Yeah. And basically what's happening is when you're in a relationship that's not working, and for whatever reason, and you're settling, you're saying, this is the way it is, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Then if you are 100% responsible for your life, and 100% responsible because you're always creating and never not creating, one could look at that relationship and say, okay, I created this. How did I create this? And since I'm not liking this creation, and I'm the owner, author, actor, producer, and director of my show, and I'm not liking my show,
Yeah.
what could I create instead? So now you're in an empowered posture as opposed to a victim posture. Victim posture is in fear, empowered posture is in love. And you're saying, okay, I created this. I'm 100% responsible for my creation, not liking this particular version of my creation. So I'm using the contrast. And you asked me the question, I don't think I ever really answered it. For finding what people want or desire is the contrast of what they don't want. If you make a list of what you don't want and flip it, I don't want to be in an unloving relationship. Then what do you want? I want to be in a loving relationship. I don't want to fear abandonment. Then what do you want? I want to feel safe. I want to feel whole, whatever that is. And so when you make that list of what you don't want, don't dwell there, because we don't want to dwell on the negative. You can flip all of those things to what you do want. And then that creates a bit of a roadmap, a pathway for you to springboard, because I think most people have forgotten how to desire. They've forgotten how to dream. They've forgotten how to go, what more could there be? What more could there be?
Well, I think that's so brilliant, because we know, just because of negative programming, right? It's so much easier to focus on the negative. What
Mhm.
what is bad? What don't I want? What is hurting me right now? Instead of, what do I want? What gives me joy? What gives me pleasure? What makes me whole? What makes me safe? So by starting with, quote unquote, negatives first, right? The don't wants, and then flipping that, that's brilliant, because it just makes it so much easier for people to start going, ah, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
These are the things I do want. And I love the word desire. Love the word desire. Man, if anything, I'm put it on a shirt. I might just put it on a shirt. I might just post it around the house. I love that word.
Yeah, it's a great word.
It
And
is.
it's got really good energy. And then the other thing I would suggest for people to do is to notice, really just notice where you're living in lack, where you're saying, I can't have, I don't deserve, or whatever, because instead of noticing the lack, what if you notice the abundance? What if you notice that, oh my gosh, the birds are singing, the sky is blue, it's not 120 today, it's only 110. It's instead of that lack, that negativity of complaining about what you're experiencing, again, you're choosing to be there. Years ago, I had an experience. I worked per diems. I was a nurse many, many years ago, and I worked per diems, and I could control how much I made by how many of these shifts I did. And one Saturday, I found myself, it was a gorgeous day. I was living in LA, and I found myself really pissed off in this hospital room with this patient. And instead of being grateful that I have this vehicle that allows me to play and spend money and travel and do all these things, I was in a really bad mood because it was gorgeous outside and I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I got this download, and it was like, you chose to be here. Suck it up. You chose to be. And I was just like, I was like, don't you hate when that happens, when you smack yourself in the face? But I needed an attitude adjustment, and I got a fast one that day. And but it also elevated my awareness about how we're always choosing our experiences. And so if you choose an experience, you chose it.
Mhm.
So
It's like when you the shifting, like you said, the shifting from the negative to the positive. It's just like when you say, I don't have to wake up this morning. I get to wake up this morning. I don't have to try to eat healthy. I get to eat healthy. I don't have to go work out. I get to work out. I mean, if
yeah.
you can make that, just that shift of your vocabulary, of your mindset, that
Mhm.
everything isn't a negative, everything isn't a hassle, everything isn't against you. There's
Right.
so many energies for you, so many things working with you. You get to get up and breathe. I don't have to sit and get radiation every day. I mean, I get to do things now that I wasn't sure I was going to get. So we flip that, and you kind of touched on it, and I can't believe we've already blown through an hour. And I like to ask folks on a thought for us, besides the thought of go see Karen and get your energy worked through and heal. If you had a thought, if you wanted to, in any area that you wanted to visit, but I mean, if you had a thought that you wanted to leave with people that was kind of close to your heart, close to your soul, whether regarding your work or not regarding your work, whether it's the things you've seen through your 30 years of coaching. I mean, if there was just something you wanted to leave with us, a thought, what do you think that would be?
Well, there's actually two things. You matter, and take a stand for yourself. For the first time in your life, take a stand for yourself. You go first. You get to go first. That's not selfish. It's not bad. It's not mean. You go first, because the better care you take of yourself, the more available you are for others. It's like, it's true. People vilify wealth, but someone who's wealthy has much more resources available to support people in need through the charitable donations that they're called to make. And so it's the same thing. It's your bandwidth. If you take a stand for yourself,
Wow.
because you
I
matter.
love that. I actually had to write that down. Take a stand for yourself, because we're so conscientious of, oh, I don't want to be selfish, or I don't want to look this way or look that way. But it like comes back to the concept of put your mask on first, right? I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, it doesn't really matter what other ambitions or thoughts or hopes or dreams you have. Because you don't put your mask on first, you're done, and it
Mhm.
won't matter. And so I love that, take a stand for yourself.
And another one's coming in. Stop canceling yourself, because you do matter. And if you have any doubt about that, read the book, The Butterfly Effect
The
by.
butterfly effect. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah.
have any doubt about mattering,
The butterfly effect.
it'll
There's
take
something,
40
and
minutes to
I
read
know
it.
I know we got to wrap up, but there's something that I came to the first time, and I just love it about the words you use in your bio about today, Karen leads the significance movement. And I didn't really get to touch on the significant movement as much as I wanted to, but just reading through there about, empowerment, crushing doubt, designing identities. I mean, there's so much there, and I'm sorry we didn't get to so much of that, but can you share? I know I don't want to take up too much time, but can you share the significance movement?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Gary. I really appreciate you. You're such a great interviewer, and you ask so many fabulous questions and give me an opportunity to share what's near and dear to my heart. The significance movement I just kept hearing. I've been doing the identity work for some time, and I started hearing that, and I read The Butterfly Effect, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, what is the one message that is lacking worldwide in humanity? And what kept coming to me was this idea: you matter, everything you say and do matters, and what you desire matters. And so if you matter, that means you're significant. And I couldn't call it the mattering movement, because that was a mouthful and it doesn't make any sense. So the significance movement was born out of that message that kept coming, that kept on repeat. You matter, what you say matter, what matters, what you do matters, what you desire matters. Because I think if people, when people embrace that and embody it, the world will change.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
as David Hawkins said, one person at a level of consciousness of love offsets 750,000 at the lower levels, where like hate and shame and anger and all that stuff resides. So let's just,
That's a powerful thought.
yeah,
Here's
let's
one.
just be love.
And John Maxwell has a quote that I love John Maxwell. I had it on my desk forever, and I know I'm going to mess it up, but it's something to the effect of don't seek success, seek significance.
Oh,
Something to that
yes.
effect. I know I'm going to mess that up, but have you heard that quote from?
I haven't, but when you find it, I'd love you
I'll
to send.
send it to you. Yeah, it's something to that effect. To have to have the life that you want. Don't seek success, seek significance, or something like that. And I had it on my desk for 20 years. That's why I can't believe I don't know it by heart by now, because I looked at it every day for 20 years. But it really is. Significance is such a great word, um, because you value yourself when you think you're significant. And it's not an egotistical thing, and it's not a materialistic thing. It's just valuing yourself because you are significant.
Exactly.
So between significance and desire, we covered two great words today.
Yeah, we sure
So
did.
thank you so much. I know you don't do the websites and stuff like that. I know you're on Facebook. Are you on anything else where people can find you?
I'm on Facebook. I think you have my Calendly link. So if somebody wants to book a time with me, I do a Be With session for people, which is about 75 minutes. It gives people a taste of the work. It's not a sales call. It's not pitchy. It's not, buy my thing. Because quite honestly, I don't know if you want to work with me and I don't know if I want to work with you, but it's a great way to find out if we're a match. And if you feel that if you do that and you have that experience and you feel that I can help you, I'd be honored then to, after that, on a different call to talk about what that would look like.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure we get that posted.
Get that link
Um,
posted. Yeah.
and Jen, I'm just so grateful for your time. There's so many places that you can take us. There's so much more there. I mean, I wish I could have opened up more. You're just so wonderful. I just love talking with you, and I can feel your energy when I talk to you, even through this thingy majiggy.
I know. Well, everything is energy, right?
Exactly. All right, kiddo. So everybody, this is Dr. Karen Vizer, and please look for her Facebook, look her up, give her a chat, especially if you just think that you've got some blockages that you'd love to open up. And Karen, thank you again so much. Really
Oh, you're
appreciate
very
it.
welcome. Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Wants to know you. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.